I definitely think we are. I've been playing around with this idea of, I think that the city culture, whether you're in Atlanta or Washington, D.C. or New York or San Francisco, we like to think of those as really heterogeneous environments. And in some respect, because of where they're located geographically, they're a little bit different. But I really think that there is a new cosmopolitan culture that emerges. And a big portion of that is you have very few responsibilities, right? Like you're basically caring for yourself. And a big part of caring for yourself is giving up rights that you have so that way you can live in this giant community. But when you give up those responsibilities, there's some aspect of the individual self that goes with it, right? Like, a kid that is learning how to drive a tractor or learning how hot it can be in the middle of July if they have to work, that does something to who they are as an individual self. And I wonder, what must the cosmopolitan society look like to a guy that's living out in the middle of South Dakota? Is it something that you look down on? Is it like, how do you think about the people living in these societies?
I don't know that I necessarily look down on it. I had the opportunity to move down to Arizona and live in a big city for a few years down there while I was doing some engineering work. And it's a different way of life, but you can still find people who are putting values into their kids. To me, going to church and believing in God was one of our big staples when we moved down there. That was our rock. And to meet people in the church and to see people who are still teaching their kids values and making them work. And it was a little different because I look at people who say they don't have time, and down there, most people had their weekends off and, they had time to do whatever they wanted on weekends. And I took the opportunity to do some woodworking, some of my passions, where I was off on the weekends. But now that I'm back on the farm, it's 24/7, it's go. We have a feedlot. So it's kind of like a dairy. Got to be here to feed on time, morning and night. And that's the one thing, the schedule, where they had more flexibility, that they weren't pinned down to this schedule where they could go and do this or that there's not as much this rigid structure where you have to be there work and you have to take care of this. And some of that was lost on some of that, I believe. Not everybody, but some of them didn't have that extra ethic where, no, I have to be here at 7, 8 in the morning, every day of the week, or these cattle don't eat. Cattle got to get fed before I do. And that's a big thing with the stewardship of these livestock that I think is kind of getting lost, where we're getting 3 or 4 generations removed from the physical labor side, where a lot of people are getting more of that blue collar work behind a desk all day.
Yeah, I really think that the idea of responsibility is one of those things that keeps the darkness away. Like if I wake up on a Monday morning and I decide, I don't really want to do some work today, there is nobody now there is, because I have a child. But if you're in that environment where you don't have things that are reliant on you, then, you're free from it. You go do whatever you want with your time. But at the same time, the responsibility is what actually makes you who you are. And without it, I think that is one of the things that leads people to depression. I think particularly men, because I think men are set up and structured so that the way that they keep the depression away, the way they keep I call it the darkness, right? The suicidal thoughts, or the what is it all for, is because, I don't really have time to mess around with those ethereal thoughts. I got to get things done. And I think that's one of the consequences of living in a cosmopolitan society, is that you don't have those responsibilities in the same way that your boys, they're learning real fast. Hey, if I don't get up and feed that calf, it's going to die. It doesn't matter that it's cold. It doesn't matter that I'm tired. It doesn't matter that I don't feel well. I've got to do it.
That's right, Vance. They learn that I got to take care of this, and I can watch this grow and blossom into something wonderful. That's, I wonder, with you.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you like this interview, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you always get notified about this podcast. And if you're really interested in conversations like this, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.